Hello, welcome to the Zero Ends channel. Please like and subscribe. Please enjoy our live.
Zero ends. What's good, everybody? How y'all doing today, guys? I'm back here with a special broadcast, a very unique broadcast, nonetheless. If you're not new to Zero Ends channel, welcome to Zero Ends channel. Politics, maybe some news, review of some books, maybe card books. This is the channel to be. As you know, there's content on here already, and there might be some more content down the line, but like I said, you will not know to subscribe to the channel. And like always, comments are necessity for growth of the channel. Besides likes, likes are free. So, as you could tell, or people that have not known of the elder, a mixed man, and I think he's from, I don't know if he's from down south or from Washington D.C. originally. But as you can see, I have here on the screen showing, I have the one and only Neely Fuller Jr. And like most gentlemen like himself, he was a man of his time, growing around. I think he served in the military. I think during World War II, if I could be right or wrong, because Neely Fuller Jr. was born in October the 6th, 1929. He was born the same year as the one and only Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Ironically, he was the last of the 20s babies, the silent generation that transitioned at the age of 95. 4 years, or almost 4.5 years before hitting the century mark, but still live a good life. Um, as you can tell here, as you see the video scrolling, these are the two books he compiled and came out with. The most popular book that people never heard of or didn't know exists or what this book is the one on top, the white book with the barcode or specialized codified code in symbols. Because books have symbols. For people who don't know, this unique design is a codified signal of, I think, how we looked at in reference today as white supremacy. This is the white supremacy codified symbolized code. That's why I get off looking at the image of the book, because that's the first thing that comes to mind. And as you know, the first book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System and Concepts, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or actions of victims of racism and white supremacy. This was the book that really, out of any compiled books in the last century, dove into white supremacy in its time. And as I'm looking at the Discord service, one brother wrote, I had his books, but lost them during I never got a chance to really dig. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Hold on a second, guys. True. Um, and I'll give you a little background of how I came across Neely Fuller's books. Make sure you guys like the stream, share the stream, like always. I came across Neely Fuller's works back in the late 2000s, if I can remember. This book, especially, I bought with my good friend at the time that was running, because he was working for himself at the time. He was ordering some books at the time, and one of the books that he wanted to go get because he went to New York and go to those so-called I don't know if I want to call Afrocentric seminars, but really truly those things during the streets where the people were out here selling stuff, that pro blacky black stuff, and he came across a brother that was selling DVDs and books, and he bought from him directly. And I guess he came across him about this particular author of this book by the one Neely Fuller. So a good friend referenced to another friend, and he went out his way to order this books. And lo and behold, I think I put my money in to get this book. And I think that was either 18 to 17 years ago. I cannot recall, because this book I did not date when I first got this book. I put my name on it, but I didn't really write down when I first purchased this book. So this is one of the few books that I start my journey of, reading. I didn't take reading seriously, to be honest with you, when I was a boy. But eventually, as I got older and come across certain things, it brewed my curiosity, for lack of better words. And I'm not sure if I got this book around 2010. It might be 2010, 2011. I could be wrong. But I'm looking at some of the dates, and I would say personally, I might have got it around the 2000s. or it could be 2010s. But nonetheless, I had this book. I eventually read the first book, completed, and it took me a while. I think it took me like a year or two, maybe almost a year and a half, maybe. I was juggling around different books at the time, but nonetheless, I got this book. And I'll tell you, personally, this is a very good book. It breaks down the aspects of language, and it's written like how can I say this? Uh, a manuscript, for lack of better words. And it's breaking out by sections, by definitions, and explains detail why use these words, why stop using words, and explain detail. Even go as far as how to ask questions, because living in a system of what they call white supremacy, you must ask and question everything as a man and woman, and that's what Neely Fuller was well known as a man that he was good at. And matter of fact, hold on. Hold on. All right. So, like I was saying, this book is well must read. For everybody should have in their library for better understanding and for more better research. Because like any system that most people talk about, you don't know what system you are in or much care, but you should have better understanding and better insight to really break down how systems work, especially when we deal with caste systems and we could deal with oppression in regards to racism. I think that's what the book was designed for. And really, truly, Neil Fuller said best. He write books and design books to solve problems, for lack of better words, to solve problems, So, and one of the few things he says, the things that white supremacy hold weight, that hold their reign amongst the other groups of people across the nations in the world, are the few areas. And let me name you the few areas. Make sure you guys leave a comment and like this video as well. I wouldn't remember them off the head, but I bet off this reading off what it says, because I don't want to say things that doesn't come clear off the head, because I read this book and finished reading this like over a decade ago, maybe 13 years ago, maybe 14. All right, where is it? All right. Okay. It says here, the 9 major areas of people's activity in the known universe. Because the universe is very broad when you say universe, right? One of them is economics. 2, education. 3, entertainment. 4, labor. 5, law. 6, politics. 7, religion. 8, sex. And the last one, number 9, is war. These are 9 areas that what we consider the activities that people are activities, and I mean the major areas of people activities in this world, or what Neil Fuller wants to refer to as the whole universe, which can be broad, that is controlled by what they call said white supremacists, i.e., maybe European man, or actually white man, Mr. Charlie, which we want to call it. And the funny thing about it, when you control either 70 or even 100% of those areas, you are dominated by these people that control one or two things to rule and control the nine areas. They have to get control of your goddamn brain, which is your mind, before anything else. Because the nine areas will not exact it lists or exists without compliance of the other majority of the world, which is heavily dark or melanated, to comply with the people that run things. All right. And now let me tell you another story of Dr. Neely Fuller before I go into a few of his pages of the two books, not in detail. I remember when I was sharing this book with one of my female friends, right, back in the 2010s. And miraculously, I remember even on one of these books, they had Neely Fuller Jr.'s number, which you can call him directly. But people did not know that. I didn't know that because I read the book, but I didn't really pay attention to the real detail of contacting the brother. But he was accessible at one point back in the last decade. Now, I think in the last few years, because he's getting up there in age, because I think the time when I contact him directly, I think he might have been, in his 80s. If I'm right. Yeah, he was in his 80s because he was born in 1929. So he was in his 80s at the time when I contact Neely Fuller. Back when I was with my other friend. And I had one of my female friends talk to him directly on the phone. And he laid out his story, not much of his life, but really of his accolades, what he achieved by the books that come out. Because white people like his work, which I did not know, but that's what he said out the mouth of Neely Fuller Jr. And I believe him because let's be fair honest. When we look at these type of textbooks, who really is reading these books? At that time, black folks, let's be honest, they might understand what racism is. They might understand, but they have no idea what it really is. And much don't really invest time and energy or the need to know what it really is. Besides a non-black person calling an N-word, which is far more devious, but is not the thing that really shows the real strength of these people that really hate you, that are racist. Because using the N-word towards you is small target. It's small talk. It does not really underline the bigger intentions that you're in this so-called system that they control, and really calling you the N-word is least of your problems. Yeah, look at other factors that they don't have to use that word to oppress you systematically. And that's one thing black people don't really understand. And the whole intention of Neely Fuller Jr. was to educate majority black and brown people about how it really works and how it's structured and how you could operate in it to the way that, let's keep it real. You must bring justice. So, me saying this, right? That I always question who really is buying and really reading his material. I would say on the average, if this book was been republished multiple times, because this book, if I remember when it was first published, I'm looking at the first book, guys. Well, he said here, if you do not understand white supremacy racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. This was a quote by Neely Fuller Jr. back in 1971 when he was roughly, let me see my math, I think he was 60 years old or 50. Actually, he was 41 or 42 years old at the time, because he's born the same year as Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King, he was around 71. He'll be 42. My math is right. 41, 44. Wait, no, actually 41. Going on 42, I believe. Yeah. Because, wait. 43. My fault. 43 at the time when he wrote, when he made that statement. Sorry. And I'm looking at the first copyright editions. It was produced in 1957. But the first full print of the book was in 1969. So when Neely Fuller Jr. turned 40 was when he released his first actual copyright version of this work, manuscript, or a book at the time. That was 56 years ago. And it went through many revisions at that time. The second revision was in 1972. And I think around 71, 72, I think Frances Cress Welsing came up because she was around Neely Fuller at the time. And Neely Fuller Jr. was Frances Cress Welsing's mentor at the time. She came up with the Cress theory about genetic annihilation. But how she came up with that theory? She came up with that theory with the help of reading Neely Fuller Jr.'s works. For people that did not know that. For those that did not know that. It's because Neely Fuller Jr., we will not have what we call a Frances Cress Welsing today. And that's very powerful. That's very powerful. Very deep. So knowing this, that wait, what's this? Hold on a second, guys. All right. So knowing this, right, that Frances Cress Welsing created the Cress theory, and lo and behold, she got invited to many speaking arrangements, right? She was on many famous television shows. I think there was only one show that Neely Fuller was on, and maybe I'll play it for y'all to see, and maybe I'll do that right now. That he was interviewed at the time. I don't know if it was in the 80s or late 70s, but let me look it up right now. Since I'm talking to y'all. I could do that. 1 second, guys. Let me see if I can find it. Cause I think y'all need to see it more than really have an understanding. Let me see how much this. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me see if this will pop up. Oh, wow. A lot of people talking about it. I have not watched a lot of people's take on Neely Fuller Jr.'s, but I'm not really concerned about that right now. Let me see if I can find the oldest interview of the brother. And knowing Bigger Channel is going to cover him more than anybody else, but that's fine. Where is the... Gotta find one. Let me find an old interview of the brother. I was trying to find one. Here it is. I'm gonna play this so you guys can see this. And I think this should be more a testament of who the brother is for those that don't know. So I'm gonna screen share. All right, let's go. Let's hear who he really is.
What needs to be done?
Well, when you put it in the frame of reference, everyone, when they talk about racism and white supremacy, should always start by saying that the focus, the objective should be replace white supremacy with justice. Those are the 5 basic words. And you start your frame of reference from that. The words are very important because when people talk about racism, they tend to get away from the basic focus. If you keep those 5 words in mind, replace white supremacy with justice, then you can keep focus. In many of these discussions on the matter, people tend to get into everything from feminism to words that don't have precise
communism and everything else. They go off on a tangent.
Yes, right.
Yeah, but this kind of locks it in.
Right. Bigotry, discrimination, sexism, a multitude of isms. Biracialism, whatever that means, multiculturalism.
Whatever that means.
Yes. And so you get into a myriad of words that don't apply to the focus of what you're talking about. So therefore, that is the basic frame of reference that you should always focus on. That should be used by all people who are talking about the problem as it is.
What is a tragic arrangement, or the 3 T's, if you will? And what are some of the first 2 things that must be done to establish quality relationship between white and non-white people, if you will?
Before he continues, since y'all seen that, before he continues, you gotta understand, during the time when Neely Fuller was around, the era he lived in, during Jim Crow and segregation, helped grew, or I can't say breed, but grew his understanding about how people move, how people work in regards to white folks, right? And with him, just like a man of his stature at the time when he was an adult, that he sees a problem and he creates a solution. Like most black men today, unless we're not creating solutions, let's be fair, honest, you're not really solving no problems. And he took it on himself to be the ones to solve problems. And I have no problem against that. All right. All right, so let's continue. Let's play more of this.
Well, the 3 T's called a tragic arrangement are tacky, trashy, terroristic. Now, this is the arrangement that non-white people on this planet have with white people in their everyday interactions in all areas of activity.
Tacky,
trashy, and terroristic. One of the 3. It doesn't get any better than tacky. If you will observe black people, for instance, in the presence of white people, on account of the way that both of them are raised within the system of white supremacy, there's a strain there. There's not a even flow. So what you have is a tackiness. It doesn't get any better than tacky. It can't get any better than tacky within the system of white supremacy.
Why?
So this is all very tragic. Well, because the system of white supremacy the demands that white people interact with non-white people in a certain way that is harmful and harsh and overall destructive. And that the non-white people interact with the white people in the same manner. And they are taught this. Both people
are taught this
at a very early age, and then the teaching goes on every day in all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
All areas of people activity.
All of the areas of people activity, everywhere in the known universe.
I noticed.
So, and the reason I'm playing this because a lot of young people, depending if you're 20 or under 18 years old, you're never gonna know about this man, because most of any person that is scholarly in nature or scholarly in general are not gonna be talked about in textbooks. And the reason why, because this is something that, like any material put out in the market, designed to make you really think rationally and hope to come with your own conclusion at the end of the day. That's the intention of authors like Neely Fuller or anybody writing books that is opposing thought. Especially when we talk about the racial dynamics between black people and white folks, or non-blacks and non-whites. All right, so I'm gonna run more of this. Then I'm gonna shift gears here a little bit. All right, let's go. Where is it? Oh, there. All right.
There's something. I used to work with a gentleman, elderly gentleman, and whenever he would come in contact with white people, he always had a tendency to have to be the entertainment committee to make everybody laugh. If we were on the elevator or doing something in the building, he was always the person to make white people laugh. He was always the clown. Yeah. I always kept a straight face, so he thought something was wrong with me.
Yes, well, you can tell that there's a strain even on college campuses and whatnot, and in schools. The people will go to the classes together because that's where the classes are. They are, that's where the teaching is. And then the students will separate themselves in the lunchroom. Now, there's a reason for that. And the reason is not healthy. It shows it's something that is completely out of order. Because if the people are sharing the same classroom and learning the same things and having the same values that are taught in that classroom, then why do not the people interact with each other in all of the areas of activity without exception in harmony?
Well, maybe they're not learning the same thing.
That is it.
Maybe they taught the same thing, but
yes,
not necessarily
that is it. Under the system of white supremacy, a black student sitting next to a white student is being taught how to be a victim of white supremacy. The white person, the white student, is being taught how to be a white supremacist.
And it's all in the language.
This is done in the language, in the use of the words, in the subject matter of the materials, if the material in any way relates to interactions between people. Now, the other two T's, trashy, if you try to improve on the tackiness, then it gets trashy. The interactions between. For instance, you can say that in the area of religion, Sunday morning, black people and white people do not attend the same churches.
Dr. King says the most segregated.
And there's good reason, because, and this is going to sound messed up, but I got to go there, because you do not serve the same God as what you see in your church hall. What I mean by this, let's critically analyze this. The white man is God in the eyes of themselves and in the eyes of other non-whites. Right? You agree or disagree with what I just said? Hear me out. You're a actually, my fault. No, I'm right. White people see themselves as gods. I don't want to use the word non-white, non-black because it'll confuse you. White people generally see themselves as gods, not only in the images they portray of themselves, but just in general. Black people, non-whites, yes, okay. When they look and view and see themselves, they do not see that same reflection. They see themselves as not of God image or anything of godliness. They are viewed as the opposite, which is evil, dark, the devil. And I'm not talking about the one with the red horns and pitchforks. I'm talking about evil, the opinion, because if you're not this, you are that, the opposite, for those that do not know. And I hope this didn't go by your head, but follow me. So you do not serve the same God. You go to their church, you are worshiping them. While they go to your church, they know that you are worshiping them. Does that make sense? Do you understand that? I hope so. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. And please, guys, like the stream. Likes are free. Don't be stingy. Let's go.
Yeah, the owl in America.
Right. Now, that is tacky, particularly in the area of religion. It should not be. The two people should come together in religion, if in nothing else. It would seem logically speaking. But under the system of racism, since the basic teaching of the white supremacy system is that white supremacy is a religion, so you have a built-in barrier
already
against black people and white people sharing the same premises and preaching the same gospel and talking about loving each other and treating each other with justice. So therefore, you can't have what you call black people and white people in the same religious setting, which is why you don't have it. So what you do have, and I'd like to add this, is the trashiness that goes on the same Sunday morning, and that is maybe in the houses of prostitution, in the houses of dope dealing. Then you will have black and white together.
That's the only
same day,
place
on Sunday.
Wow, that's interesting that you would say that, because you have these two groups, and we both say we're Christian. We have white Baptists, then we have black Baptists, and we're supposed to be worshiping the same God, if you will.
One in Christ, they often say. And that is something that not even many black people care to explain. That they say we are, in Christ there is no east, no west, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yet, the black people and the white people cannot sit down in the same bench in a church.
I find it interesting, seeing a religion that you can have Billy Graham come to town.
Yeah. And they should not supposed to see themselves in the same bench, because both the eyes between men and women, black and white in general, see themselves as opposites that should not, by default, subconsciously come together, especially when we're talking about white folks. They don't see themselves joining or, being really entwined with non-black people or, other groups of people, particularly blacks. So knowing this, there's the problem. Now, they said earlier in this conversation that education might be the factor. I would look more beyond the educational component. When you see children interact with other children of different culture, different race, they already see themselves as not the same, because they can look at their skin, their hair, and they can tell that this is someone different, and they treat them accordingly. That is actually natural. See, black folks don't understand, or will never understand this crap, but others do. And I think the reason why black folks deny the understanding, besides their children, because their children will notice more better than their parents, is because children, when they're still feeble and fresh-minded, they're not so close-minded towards seeing not only reality, but the truth. It's hard to get a child to lie on themselves unless someone teaches them to lie. Children come to this earth pure. Only time they get corrupted is when they spend more time on this plane we call earth by man and woman. That's corrupt. So let's keep going.
And all the black ministers start bowing down. Minister Louis Farrakhan comes, and there's controversy.
Well, that is because of the race issue.
As well.
It's always because of the race issue. You can't do anything. You can't straighten out anything in religion or any of the 9 areas of activity without first eliminating racism. And here again, there's only one functional form, and that is white supremacy.
What should be used as a role model for replacing white supremacy?
The role model for replacing white supremacy should be a code of thought, speech, and action, not a person, never a person. And that also applies to producing justice throughout the world, which justice has never been produced, as far as anyone who is existing now knows anything about. We don't know what justice would be like. We don't know what peace would be like.
Yes.
Never had it. So in the process of producing justice, you need a role model, and that role model has to be a prescription. Some ministers have said in the beginning there was the word. Now that certainly applies also to straightening out race problems. You have to have the words. The words are not correct. Hardly any of the words are correct. The words are designed to support racism. And this is why you have the confusion you have in the schools.
Deceit.
Yes, the deceit. See, the words are designed to support deceit, which is the basic tool of the white supremacists. So,
Okay, so that's Neely Fuller Jr. And I didn't want to play more of it because I want y'all to do your own further research of the brother He has some interesting information. I would advise, if you're not gonna pick up one of his first books, watching some of the videos will get you an understanding of what he's saying and his material. But it does not beat owning the actual book, because the book goes in better and broad, vast details with his own forms of definitions and breakdowns of definition of words, language, etc. So please pick up the book for yourself. And he talks about this thing, and I did found some things that I wrote down on a piece of paper about Neely Fuller, questions for Neely Fuller. Oh wow, I don't know if I asked him these questions. Let me see if I have it here. I think one thing he said here about intercourse that he wrote in his book, and I can't find a page that was. It says here, why have intercourse no more than twice every 7 days? That I want to find why that he put that there. And let me see if I can find that portion of the book. I highlighted it. That's why a good thing I put bookmarks. I think that comes to sex. I'm just going through it, guys, because I haven't gone through the main book in a while. And he says here, there was something he did mention here that I'm going to read to y'all. And it's dealing with the sexual component part of the book. Do not engage in sexual intercourse and or sexual play with anyone with whom you frequently argue. Reasons, explanation. People who engage in frequent arguments with each other should avoid all unnecessary contact with each other. By avoiding all unnecessary contact with each other, they will minimize conflict with each other. And it says that as long as white supremacist racism exists, do not speak and or act as if sexual intercourse and or sexual play between white people and non-white people will help to eliminate racism. This is so true. That means for all you swirlers out there, especially ladies, you think that you can sleep with master and think it's going to end and he's going to have different views of you as a black woman or what they call a bad witch or a black beep, you're sadly mistaken. Very sadly mistaken. All right. Yeah, I might look at some I might just go over some of this stuff with y'all in future streams on this channel. It might not be the most enticing, but it's something to look at. Here's some interesting stuff here. All right. I'll leave that there. That'll be end of this portion of the book. That's the first book. Now, for the good stuff. And this book I never gone over because this book is just more broader with definitions of each word, why to use it, why not use it, be cautious, be less cautious. I think the second book, and let me show you on the screen, the second book, as you see on the screen here, the one underneath the United Independent Compulsory book is the United Independent Compulsory Code System Concepts, a compulsory counter-racist codified word guide. In addition to the textbook word book for thought, speech, and actions for victims of racism and white supremacy. And this book was published 14 years ago, January 24th, 2011. It said it was published in 2010, but I think it really was published that following year. So I think it was finished written and it was really print out the end of 2010. All right, so let's look at some keywords. I'm checking some right now before I go into more of this. Hold on, guys. Let's look at this. All right. Make sure I see myself. And I'm not going to the preference of this book because if you want, you got to get the book for yourself. And one of the few things that I've noticed, the definitions. I'm going to start with, and mind you, this particular book is in alphabetical order for those that don't know. So it's structured very well. We're going to start with the word Aryan blood. Aryan or Aryan blood. And he quotes and he writes, avoid using these terms. When others use them, ask for a detailed explanation that you can easily understand. Question. What exactly is Aryan and or Aryan blood? When a person says that he or she is Aryan, what should that person do in each area of activity? What is the correct relationship between a person who is an Aryan and a person who is a non-Aryan? What does an Aryan do that non-Aryans do not do? And for what purpose? So when you read the first, not highlight, but more bold print, he'll give you if it's okay to use or not okay to use. And he said avoid this word. So you must avoid the word Aryan if anybody lays out to you. Now, next one, I'll go up from the start of the first letter. And I'm looking at this. We're going to start with the word anti-communist. Use this term with caution. When others use it, ask for details, explanation that you can easily understand. Question. What exactly is a communist? What exactly is an anti-communist? What is that both a communist and anti-communist do in regards to each and area or every area of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, counter war? What exactly do communists and anti-communists do that no one else does? What person are best qualified to judge what an anti-communist is or is not? If white supremacist racism is the most powerful form of communism in the known universe, is it possible that a white supremacist racist can at the same time be an anti-communist? And the ones that he'll tell you that to accept, I'm giving you the terms that you'll find if you're by this book, the last book he published. One is called anti-racist expert. Use this term, and he puts it underlined to apply only to a person, creator, spirit, etc., that has ended the existence of white supremacy, racism, and replace it with the system of justice, balance between people. Interesting. And here's another one he writes. He writes here, anti-Semitic, I think Semitic, or Semitic, one or the other. All right. And he says, do not use this term. When others use them, ask for a detailed explanation that you can easily understand. Question, what exactly is a Semite? What exactly is an anti-Semitic or anti-Semite? What exactly does an anti-Semite do that no one else does? In regards to each area of activity, what exactly is ultimate objective of a Semite? What exactly is the ultimate objective of an anti-Semite? What are correct duties of the non-Semites in regards to Semitic and anti-Semitic? No, according to the comparative logic, it is correct to believe that the best person to answer the affirmation question is the person who is a Semite. So people that are following of that word are best suited to really answer that question. And he has another one called anti-sexual behavioral, anti-sexual intercourse, anti-sexual play, counter-sexual behaviors, counter-sexual intercourse, counter-sexual play. Use these terms to mean the same as any attempt by male, what do you call it, male? By a male person to try with each other, to copy, simulate, and or approximate, make with female sexual intercourse and sexual play. Also use these terms to mean the same as any attempt of female person to try with each other. To copy, simulate, and or approximate females with male sexual intercourse or sexual play. Use these terms in place of and or a means of the same as homosexual behavior and or lesbian behavior. And he goes in detail. The reason, the word sex applies to males and females on males with females. It is not possible for a female person to have sexual intercourse with a female person. Correct. This is correct. Nor is it possible for a male person to have sexual intercourse with a male person. Also correct. A male person can only pretend that they are engaged in sexual intercourse and are sexual play with against each other. Female person can only pretend that they are engaged in sexual intercourse and of sexual play with against each other. And and like I said, and I'm going to flip through some other words. I'm going to skip through a little bit. And he goes and talk about Black history, which I'm going to read this here now because this is Black History Month. He died on Black History for all intents and purpose. He transitioned on this month, surprisingly. Black history. Do not use this term. Instead, use the term the past. When asked about your history, say my history is everything that ever happened before the beginning of time. And since the beginning of time, when asked about how much history is enough, say all and only that which is necessary to best help us reverse truth and to use truth in such a manner as to produce justice and correctness among all the people, creatures, and things of the known universe. When others use the term Black history, ask them to explain in detail what they mean. Hope that answers your question about the Black history portion of what he means by that. All right, let me see what else. And he goes down in detail. He also talks about Black middle class, which is very interesting, but let's read this. Black middle class. Do not use this term. Do not try to find or produce words that describe a Black middle class or words that describe Black middle class values. As long as white supremacy racism exists, speak of the classes of people of the known universe as the powerful class and the powerless class. Now that see one thing, and I need to complete my story with my female friend when she talked to Neely Fuller. When she listened to the man, she looked at this dude as bat crazy. At the time I laughed and I said, maybe you might be right. By the time I see why he used the words and language he does today, or how he specifies words, because, and my biggest issue with Neely Fuller, be personally honest, when you keep saying these people are the known power of the universe, they're the power and you're powerless, it breeds a servitude that their power cannot be expunged and you're here to serve for as long as the universe is intact. And I think it breeds a perpetual, in my opinion, it breeds perpetual servitude, and that you cannot come out of your situation as a Black person, man or woman, in this society that's so-called controlled by non-Black people. or what do you call other groups of people. That's me. As long as white supremacy racism exists, think, speak, and act as if all blacks, non-white people function as part of the powerless class. This means that during the existence of white supremacy racism, the black or non-white people of the known universe function with less power than the white people who practice white supremacy racism. The black and non-white people function as victims of the powerful class. All of the white people of the known universe who participate in the practice of white supremacy racism are members of the powerful class. There are no classes of victims of white supremacy. Victims of white supremacy, non-white people, are simply victims of white supremacy. All right. What else is on here? Let me say if I want to go through a little bit more. And it goes to ethnicity as well, which I'm not going to read. Oh, he talks about justice on here. All right. I'm just skimming through this book. And this book's much bigger than the first book he wrote, but this deals with definitions of words. So that's why this book's a little bit more special. All right. Whoremonger. He does say, well, whoremongering, use this word to mean the following. A male person who, when choose to have sexual intercourse with a female person, does not of each occasion tell that person about the previous last occasion that he had sexual intercourse with another person and the reason for doing so. A male person who, during the existence of white supremacist racism, engaged in an act of sexual intercourse and or an act of sexual play for reasons that do not include helping to produce or promote thought, speech, and action that is intended to end white supremacy. Note, it is incorrect to call a person a whoremonger. This word should only be used to define what the word means. Also, according to the compensatory logic, it is at all times best to correct and avoid name calling by calling a person only by names or titles that the person choose for him or herself. See whoremongering. And there's definitions more about whoremongering. And let me see what else is on here. Yeah. And he does say something about Zionism on this. So, okay. So that's pretty much it. I think now that Neely Fuller Jr. is gone, the biggest question people should ask is what's going to happen to his work. I'll say this about his work. His work's going to be forever be a pinnacle of what is going on in society and what black people, if they not understand how race and white supremacy work, they sure should pick up his book and have a clear understanding of it in the 9 areas of how it affects them. I think it's a must-get book for you as a man, woman that still is delusional about how society is work, how racism really is structured, and how it is used in the way it is. You should have a basic understanding of it by going through his first book and the second book of definitions. Now, I say you should not take what he put out as gospel, because, like anything, a lot of information that's put out can be questioned. And in there, you should have a base understanding of why he wrote the book and have appreciation of the book. But like I said before, shout out to the elder Neely Fuller Jr. He'll be missed like anybody else. He lived a full life. To be on this earth for nearly 95 and a half years is a testament alone. And like few people in the world, you know, some of us, we forced to live that long. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hell, some presidents and some people that did some more ruthless acts lived to be 100. So if you have a black man like Neely Fuller Jr., a black man especially that lived this long, I got to give my hats are to you, my brother. All right, that's pretty much it, guys. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section of this one. Leave a comment on your views, opinions of Neely Fuller Jr. He will be missed. And like always, you know, what he does now, because he has not done interviews in a while, you could look up all his old broadcasts, phone conversation on YouTube, especially. So I'm looking forward to y'all to leave comments if you get far to this point. And like I said, I'll do some more different videos on a lot of things. And like I said, this channel is going to be more focused on a lot of things, not just on Neely Fuller or history, but just a lot of things. And I'm going to try to put forth to, you know, do as best as possible to put out certain content on here so y'all guys could check it out on the Zero Ends channel. All right. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching. Take care.